Hello there and welcome to the Dreamy Atlas. Tonight we're stepping into one of the most ancient and enchanting places on Earth, the forest. From towering redwoods to misty cloud forests, these living cathedrals cover vast stretches of our planet and hold more secrets than we can count. So take a slow breath, let the weight of the day drift away, and allow yourself to wander with me through the endless whispering trees. Forests cover nearly 1/3 of the planet's land surface. They regulate climate, store carbon, and produce the very oxygen we breathe. Some scientists call them the lungs of the Earth, but they are also its beating heart, pumping life into rivers, weather systems, and even distant oceans. Every year, forests absorb billions of tons of carbon dioxide, helping cool the Earth's atmosphere. Without them, our world would feel harsher, hotter, and far less habitable. Step inside a single forest, and you're entering not just a habitat, but a collection of worlds stacked on top of one another. The roots underground shelter fungi and burrowing animals. The forest floor is alive with insects, mosses, and small mammals. Higher up, the understory hums with birds, snakes, and flowering plants. And at the very top, the canopy creates an entire ceiling world, a green continent floating in the sky. Each layer depends on the others. Rain drips down through leaves, nutrients cycle up through roots, and animals carry seeds far beyond the forest edge, weaving together a living system too complex for us to fully map. Some forests have been standing for tens of millions of years. The Amazon, for instance, is thought to be at least 55 million years old, surviving ice ages and mass extinctions. In Malaysia, the Taman Negara rainforest is estimated to be over 130 million years old, older than the Himalayas themselves. Walking among such trees is like stepping back into prehistory, into a time when dinosaurs roamed the earth and the air was thick with ancient plant scents. These forests remind us that we are not just passing through nature, we are living within its vast timeline. Forests are home to the tallest living beings on the planet, trees. The coastal redwoods of California can grow over 370 feet high, taller than a 30-story building. Imagine craning your neck to see the very top swaying gently in the breeze, its crown bathed in sunlight that will never touch the ground below. These giants can live for thousands of years, enduring storms, fires, and droughts. Some have stood since long before entire civilizations rose and fell. To stand beside them is to feel small, but also connected, as though the forest itself is timeless, watching quietly as the world changes around it. Step into a forest at dawn, and you'll be greeted by a chorus of birdsong, insects buzzing, leaves rustling, and animals stirring in the undergrowth. Each sound is part of a delicate pattern. Some creatures sing at higher frequencies, others lower, leaving space for all voices to be heard. Yet forests also hold silence like few other places. Deep within, far from roads or human settlement, you can find stillness so profound that your own heartbeat and breath feel louder than the world around you. This balance of sound and silence is one of the reasons forests feel so deeply calming. Even today, scientists discover thousands of new species in forests every year. Beetles, frogs, orchids, fungi, and countless microorganisms. The truth is, we still don't know how much life remains undiscovered. Some researchers believe we've only identified a fraction of what forests truly hold. To step into the forest, then, is to step into mystery. You're surrounded by millions of lives you may never see, from glowing fungi that light up the night to orchids so rare they bloom only once every few decades. Forests whisper their secrets slowly, if at all, reminding us that the world is still full of wonder. Forests are not all the same. Around the world they take many forms, each with its own rhythm and life. Tropical rainforests, lush and humid, cradle more species than any other habitat. Temperate forests, with their changing seasons, bring fiery autumn colors and the quiet hush of winter snow. Boreal forests, stretching across the far north, are seas of pine and spruce that whisper under the northern lights. Each forest type tells a different story, yet all share the same heartbeat of life. In tropical forests, the air is heavy with moisture, and every inch of space is claimed by something alive. Here, plants don't just grow upward, they climb, cling, and weave, creating layers upon layers of green. The heat and rain make it a cradle for biodiversity, a place where life experiments endlessly. Step into a rainforest, and you enter a living maze where every leaf may hide a butterfly, a frog, or a waiting predator. Temperate forests, by contrast, follow the cycles of the year like a slow and steady clock. In spring, buds unfurl and flowers bloom. Summer brings dense shade and buzzing life. Autumn transforms the trees into cascades of red, orange, and gold. And winter lays everything bare, covering branches with frost or snow. These forests remind us of time itself, of endings and beginnings woven into the turning of the seasons. The boreal forests, also known as the taiga, are the largest land biome on Earth. They stretch in a vast green band across North America, Europe, and Asia. Here, pines and spruces dominate, their needles adapted to withstand snow and ice. The winters are long and harsh, yet wolves, lynxes, owls, and reindeer call these forests home. Beneath the soil, permafrost locks away ancient carbon, making these forests not only vital habitats, but guardians of Earth's climate. Forests also grow in unexpected places. There are cloud forests perched high on mountains, their trees shrouded in mist. There are mangrove forests standing on stilted roots, half in land and half in sea. And there are flooded forests, where trees rise from waters that come and go with the seasons. Each one adds a verse to the great song of Earth's greenery. The canopy of a forest is a world that few humans ever see. High above the ground, it forms a vast green roof, alive with monkeys leaping, birds gliding, and insects buzzing. Some scientists call the canopy the eighth continent because it holds species that exist nowhere else. Within the dappled light, epiphytes, plants that grow on other plants, create hanging gardens. Pools of water collect in leaves. Entire ecosystems thrive, suspended in the air. Forests breathe not only oxygen but water. Through a process called transpiration, leaves release moisture into the air. Together, millions of trees send vast rivers of vapor skyward. This vapor condenses into clouds and eventually falls back as rain, feeding the very forest that created it. In the Amazon, this cycle repeats so efficiently that nearly half of the rainfall is recycled within the basin. Forests water themselves, creating their own weather. Trees also communicate in ways we are only beginning to understand. Beneath the soil, networks of fungi connect roots together in what scientists call the wood wide web. Through this system, trees can share nutrients, send warnings, and even support their neighbors. A strong tree may help feed a weaker one. A dying tree may release resources to its kin. What seems like a collection of individuals may, in truth, be a community bound together underground. Some forests are filled with giants that carry centuries of memory. In Japan, ancient cedar trees have stood for over 1,000 years. In California, bristlecone pines live for nearly 5,000 years, making them some of the oldest living beings on Earth. To walk among them is to be reminded of how brief our lives truly are, compared to the slow patience of trees. But forests are not just ancient, they are also quick to grow. After fires or storms, saplings rise rapidly to fill the gaps. In some regions, entire forests can regrow within decades, reclaiming land once cleared. This resilience is part of what makes forests so enduring. They bend, they burn, they fall, and then quietly they return. Forests are also places of sound. The wind through the branches is a kind of music, a low murmur rising and falling like waves. Birds weave melodies into the air. Insects add rhythm. Frogs and mammals provide echoes. Every forest has its own orchestra, its own composition of voices blending together into harmony. Even the darkness of forests holds wonders. Bioluminescent fungi glow faintly at night, painting the forest floor with emerald light. Fireflies drift among the trees, their signals flashing like stars fallen to earth. In some places, entire hillsides seem to twinkle, as if the forest itself were breathing light into the night. Forests are not just homes for wildlife, they are also woven into human history. For thousands of years, people have relied on them for food, medicine, shelter, and inspiration. Countless myths are born from the forest. Enchanted woods, sacred groves, and stories of spirits that dwell beneath the leaves. To our ancestors, the forest was never just background. It was alive, mysterious, and powerful. Many of the medicines we use today trace back to plants discovered in forests. Quinine, used to treat malaria, comes from the bark of a South American tree. Aspirin was first found in the bark of the willow. Even now, scientists believe that countless cures may still be hidden in forest plants, waiting to be discovered. Protecting forests may mean protecting future remedies for human illnesses. Forests also shape culture. Poets and painters have long drawn inspiration from their shadows. Fairy tales unfold among dark woods. Folklore speaks of guardians, witches, and wanderers who lose themselves among the trees. These stories reflect the dual nature of forests, both nurturing and dangerous, a place of refuge and of mystery. Forests influence not just art, but daily life. Around 2 billion people on Earth rely directly on forests for survival, gathering firewood, hunting, or harvesting fruits and plants. For many, the forest is not distant or abstract, but an immediate partner in life. And yet, even for those who live far from them, forests remain vital. They stabilize climates, filter water, and hold soil in place. Remove a forest, and the land quickly erodes, rivers muddy, and weather patterns shift. Even cities feel their absence. Forests can also surprise us with their extremes. In the Pacific Northwest, temperate rainforests receive over 12 feet of rain each year. In the Siberian taiga, winters last 9 months, and temperatures plunge far below freezing. Yet life adapts, from mosses that cling to wet stone to bears that hibernate through endless snow. Finally, forests remind us of connection. No tree, no animal, no person exists in isolation. Each breath we take carries the gift of forests. Each drop of rain may once have passed through a leaf. To enter the forest is to step into the great cycle of life itself, timeless, mysterious, and endlessly renewing. Forests are home to countless creatures, from the tiniest insects to the most powerful predators. Ants march in endless processions, carrying leaves like sails above their heads. Birds flash color between the branches, each with its own unique call. Mammals move more quietly, deer browsing on tender shoots, foxes stalking in the shadows, bears lumbering with patient strength. Every creature, large and small, plays its part in the forest's web of life. In the tropical forests, animals fill every layer. On the ground, jaguars and tapirs roam. In the middle levels, monkeys swing from tree to tree, searching for fruit. And high in the canopy, parrots, toucans, and butterflies create a constant whirl of sound and color. Even the night belongs to life, as bats, owls, and frogs emerge to take their turn in the grand cycle. Some animals are architects of the forest itself. Beavers fell trees and build dams, creating ponds that transform landscapes. Elephants knock down branches and spread seeds, reshaping paths through the woods. Even insects like termites recycle nutrients and build towering mounds that become microhabitats. The forest is not static. It is sculpted every day by the life within it. Predators keep balance as well. Wolves in the boreal forests keep deer from overgrazing. Big cats in the jungle maintain harmony by controlling herbivore numbers. Without them, the balance collapses, and forests can wither under too much pressure from grazing animals. Each predator is a guardian, ensuring the rhythm continues. Forests are also filled with mysteries still unseen. New species are discovered every year, hidden in remote valleys or clinging to the canopy. Tiny frogs, glowing fungi, orchids that bloom once a decade. The forest reveals itself slowly, always leaving secrets behind. Forests are also places of silence, but it is never empty silence. Instead, it is a silence full of possibility. The soft drip of rainwater, the distant crack of a branch, or the hush of wind in the leaves becomes magnified. In such moments, the forest seems alive in a deeper way, as if holding its breath. The air itself in a forest feels different, cooler, damp, carrying the scent of soil and leaves. Scientists call this smell petrichor when rain falls, but in forests it lingers even in dry times. The forest smell is a reminder of constant renewal, of life decaying, transforming, and returning to the earth. Walking in a forest can feel like walking back in time. Some forests have stood for thousands of years, unchanged in their essence. The Black Forest in Germany, the Amazon in South America, the Congolese rainforest in Africa, each is a living archive of Earth's history. To wander there is to step into a chapter that began long before us and will, if protected, continue long after us. Forests also inspire awe with their sheer scale. A single hectare of tropical rainforest can contain more tree species than the entire continent of North America. Some forests stretch farther than the eye can imagine. The Amazon alone covers more than 2 million square miles, breathing life into half a continent. Standing beneath its canopy, one feels both small and profoundly connected. And yet even the smallest patch of woodland has its own importance. A grove of trees in a meadow becomes a shelter for birds, a source of shade, and a home for countless insects. Forests do not need to be vast to be vital. Even a cluster of trees can hold entire worlds within it. Forests have their own seasons of sound. In spring, birdsong fills the air with chorus after chorus. In summer, insects take over, buzzing and humming from dawn until dusk. Autumn brings the crackle of fallen leaves underfoot, and winter returns silence, broken only by the occasional call of a raven or the creak of frozen branches. Each season writes its own symphony. In the heart of forests, rivers and streams often weave their way, carving paths through stone and soil. These waterways bring life, carrying fish, amphibians, and fresh nutrients into the trees' roots. The sound of running water adds another voice to the forest's orchestra, steady, soothing, and eternal. Some forests are so dense that sunlight never touches the ground. In these shadowed realms, moss carpets the earth, fungi rise like tiny umbrellas, and creatures adapted to dim light thrive. The lack of sun does not mean a lack of life, only a different kind of life, quieter and more hidden. Other forests burst with light, their canopies thin enough to let golden rays cascade down in glowing shafts. In such places, wildflowers bloom brightly, feeding bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. The play of light and shadow becomes a dance, reminding us that forests are always in motion, even when they appear still. Forests also burn, and sometimes they must. Fire, though destructive, is part of many forest cycles. Certain trees release seeds only in the heat of flames. Ash enriches the soil. New plants sprout quickly, feeding animals that return soon after. Even in destruction, the forest prepares for renewal. Forests are vast storytellers. They have witnessed ice ages, extinctions, migrations, and civilizations rising and falling. Within their rings, trees record history. Each line marking a year of growth, each scar a reminder of drought, storm, or fire. To study a tree's rings is to read a diary written over centuries. Legends grow in forests too. In Norse mythology, the great tree Yggdrasil connects all realms of existence. In Celtic tales, groves were sacred spaces where druids sought wisdom. In countless cultures, trees are symbols of life, balance, and eternity. These stories remind us that forests are not only ecological wonders, but spiritual ones as well. Forests even shape the skies. By absorbing carbon dioxide, they act as Earth's lungs, slowing the warming of our planet. They anchor soil with their roots, protecting against landslides. They moderate temperatures, bringing coolness in summer and warmth in winter. Every breath of wind is gentler when filtered through leaves. For animals, forests are sanctuaries. Orangutans build nests in the trees each night. Sloths move slowly, blending into the canopy. Tigers stalk unseen paths, leaving only paw prints in the mud. From insects too small to see, to giants like moose and bears, the forest shelters them all. And for humans, forests are a reminder of stillness. To sit among trees is to feel time slow. The worries of the outside world grow smaller, replaced by the endless patience of roots and branches. A forest does not hurry. It waits, it endures, it grows, inviting us to do the same. As night begins to fall, the forest changes its character. The light fades, shadows stretch longer, and the warmth of the day softens into cool, damp air. It is here in the fading twilight that new voices rise. Frogs call in steady rhythms, some chirping like bells, others croaking in deep, resonant tones. Crickets begin their endless chorus, weaving a steady thread of sound through the night. The forest is never truly quiet. It only changes singers. Where birds once dominated the air, now insects and amphibians take their place. Bats flutter overhead, their wings almost silent. They emit high-pitched calls, inaudible to human ears, mapping the world with echoes. Moths drift toward the faintest glimmers of moonlight, their wings dusted with tiny scales that shimmer as they pass. And if you listen carefully, you may hear the rustle of something larger in the underbrush. A deer moving softly, hooves muffled by fallen leaves. Or perhaps a predator, a silent owl gliding above, or a cat padding gently across roots. At night, the forest belongs to shadows, and each sound is a reminder of unseen lives moving close by. Fireflies begin to glow, tiny lanterns floating in the air. Their light is not steady, but pulsing, signals in a silent conversation. Some blink in perfect synchrony, whole swarms flashing together as though the forest itself were breathing in light. To watch them is to see the stars come down from the sky, filling the trees with their quiet sparkle. The air at night carries a different scent. Damp soil, blooming night flowers, the faint sharpness of resin. Some blossoms open only in darkness, releasing perfumes that attract moths and nocturnal bees. To walk among them feels like stepping into a secret world, one that exists only when the sun has gone. Night in the forest is not emptiness. It is abundance hidden in shadow, waiting for those who linger long enough to notice. Forests are also places of water. Rain falls often, sometimes in gentle mists, sometimes in torrents that rattle the canopy and send streams rushing through the roots. The trees drink deeply, their leaves bending to guide droplets down toward the soil. After a storm, the forest gleams as though polished. Every leaf holds a jewel of water. Every branch drips slowly, like 1,000 tiny clocks ticking all at once. Rivers wind through forests, carrying silt and nutrients, carving valleys, feeding countless lives along their banks. Some are fast and frothing, tumbling over rocks. Others are slow and glassy, reflecting the sky above. Fish move silently beneath their surface. Kingfishers dart down in sudden flashes of color, while otters slip in with playful ease. The water is a mirror, but also a lifeline, tying the entire ecosystem together. In the Amazon during the wet season, the forest itself floods. The rivers swell and spill into the trees, turning miles of woodland into shimmering lagoons. Fish swim between trunks. Dolphins hunt where monkeys climb. In this strange and magical season, the boundaries between land and water dissolve, and the forest becomes something new, half river, half jungle. Even high above, water gathers in hidden places. Bromeliads, plants shaped like open bowls, collect rain in their leaves, creating tiny pools in the canopy. In these suspended lakes, frogs lay their eggs, insects swim, and even small crustaceans find a home. Imagine that, whole ecosystems existing in the hollow of a single leaf unseen from the forest floor. Water does not only nourish life, it also connects it. It is the endless traveler, moving from sky to soil, from root to river, from forest to ocean. And within every drop is the memory of 1,000 journeys. Forests are also shaped by time. Some trees live only a few decades, falling quickly and returning to the soil. Others endure for centuries, their rings recording droughts, floods, fires, and years of plenty. In California, giant sequoias have stood for thousands of years, older than most civilizations. In Japan, cedar trees are tended as sacred beings, honored for their endurance. To stand before such a tree is to feel the passage of time in a way few other things allow. These giants have witnessed countless dawns and sunsets. They have endured winters of biting frost, summers of fire, and storms of crushing wind. And yet they remain. Their patience is beyond ours. Their lives stretched across centuries as we live only in decades. And in their passing too, the forest continues. A fallen tree does not end its story. It becomes a nurse log, slowly softening, covered in moss and fungi, feeding new seedlings that sprout from its surface. In time, those seedlings grow into trees of their own. What fell becomes foundation. What ended becomes beginning. The forest is never finished. It is always in motion, always writing itself anew. Forests hold myths and stories older than memory. In Norse legend, the great ash tree Yggdrasil connected all worlds, its roots sinking into the underworld, its branches touching the heavens. In Celtic traditions, groves were sacred places where druids sought wisdom and guidance. In countless cultures, trees are seen as bridges between earth and sky, living symbols of balance. Even today, many traditions honor the forest. People plant trees for births, for weddings, for remembrance. Some carry wood charms as symbols of protection. Others simply walk among trees for healing, a practice in Japan known as Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Studies now confirm what ancient wisdom always suggested. Spending time among trees lowers stress, slows the heartbeat, and eases the mind. Forests are not just ecosystems. They are sanctuaries for the body, mind, and spirit. And so, as we linger in this forest, surrounded by whispers of leaves and calls of unseen creatures, let us remember, the forest is not separate from us. It is part of us. It gives us air to breathe, water to drink, stories to tell, and quiet places to rest. Breathe in deeply. The forest breathes with you. Breathe out slowly. The forest exhales too. You are not walking through the forest. You are walking within it, a guest in its endless, patient home. When dawn returns, the forest awakens in stages. The first notes come from birds, each one singing its claim to the morning. Their calls rise from every corner, weaving together until the canopy feels alive with sound. Slowly, light filters through the leaves, painting the world in golden mist. Shadows shrink back, and the air warms, carrying the scent of dew and wildflowers. The forest at sunrise is a moment of renewal. Creatures that hid through the night retreat into burrows and hollows. Others, waiting for the day, begin their search for food. Insects stretch wings still damp from sleep. Butterflies drift upward, their scales catching the new light. Everything seems to breathe together, as though the forest itself sighs in relief at the return of day. Every forest holds architects, animals that change the land itself. Beavers, those small reshape rivers with their dams. Pools form behind their walls, becoming homes for fish, frogs, and water birds. Elephants wandering the tropics knock down branches, spread seeds, and carve new paths through dense growth. Even termites, tiny and overlooked, build mounds so large they alter the soil around them. These engineers are not destructive, but essential. By altering their homes, they create balance for countless others. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone, deer grew fewer, and the forest returned to health. Trees grew stronger, rivers narrowed, and birds returned. The presence of a single predator reshaped an entire land. In forests, every creature is more than itself. It is part of the whole. Forests also carry silence, but it is never empty silence. It is a silence that hums with unseen life. The soft rustle of a lizard moving under leaves, the faint drip of water falling from moss, the nearly inaudible beat of moth wings in the dusk. In this quiet, the forest feels larger, as though each sound expands into endless space. To sit in such silence is to feel time stretch. Minutes seem longer, breath slower, thoughts quieter. Scientists now tell us that time in nature slows the human mind. Brainwaves shift, heartbeats calm, and stress falls away. But for centuries, people have known this truth without studies. They sought groves for peace, mountains for prayer, and trees for shelter from the noise of the world. Forests are also mirrors of the seasons. In spring, blossoms burst, and the air grows thick with the scent of new growth. Summer fills the woods with a chorus of insects, buzzing from morning until night. Autumn comes with color, leaves painted in fire before falling to rest on the earth. And winter, though quiet, carries its own beauty in bare branches dusted with snow. Each season brings not just change, but continuity. Flowers bloom where last year's seeds fell. Leaves decay into soil, feeding next year's roots. Even in the harshest cold, buds wait hidden, ready for the return of warmth. To walk through a forest year after year is to witness a circle without end, one that has turned long before us and will turn long after. Forests are filled with light, though not always sunlight. In the tropics, glowing fungi scatter across fallen logs, creating small constellations on the ground. Some insects shine, their bodies pulsing with pale green fire. In the deepest night, bioluminescent mushrooms make entire groves glow, like lanterns placed by unseen hands. These living lights remind us that the forest holds its own stars. Even daylight in the forest feels magical. Shafts of sunlight pierce through the canopy, catching on dust, pollen, and mist. Sometimes the beams seem solid, like golden pillars holding up the roof of trees. Within them, birds and insects dance, turning the air into a stage. To walk through such light is to feel as though the forest itself is dreaming, and you are invited inside. Water continues to shape the life of forests in ways both small and vast. Rain collects in hidden places, the folds of bark, the hollows of leaves, the dim basins of stones. These tiny pools become homes for creatures that never touch the ground. Frogs raise their young there, insects lay eggs, and microbes drift unseen, beginning food chains of their own. But water does not always linger. Sometimes it falls in torrents, sweeping soil into rivers, flooding valleys, and carving deep gorges. Forests bend to water's will, but they also soften it. Roots hold soil in place, moss slows runoff, leaves guide rain gently to the ground. Where there are trees, floods lessen. Where trees vanish, waters rage. In this way, forests are not only shaped by water, they are its guardians too. Forests also hold wonders too small to see. Beneath each footstep lies a universe of microscopic life. Fungi, bacteria, and unseen creatures that recycle every leaf and branch. Without them, forests would drown in their own abundance. Instead, decay becomes nourishment, feeding roots and sprouting seeds. What falls today becomes tomorrow's growth. Some of these tiny beings form bonds so close that neither plant nor fungus can live without the other. Lichens, for example, are a marriage of algae and fungi clinging to rocks and bark enduring cold, heat, and drought. They are pioneers, softening stone into soil, making way for greater life. To notice them is to see the smallest builders of forests, patient, enduring, and vital. But forests are not just about life. They are also about memory. A single grove can hold the echoes of centuries. Trees bear scars of fire that burned generations ago. Stones carry carvings left by ancestors. Fallen logs cradle tools of those who once passed through. Every corner whispers reminders that humans and forests have always been entwined. In many cultures, people sought wisdom from the woods. They believed trees listened, that they absorbed prayers into their rings. Some tribes planted talking trees, groves where important decisions were spoken aloud. Even now, when we walk among trees, we may feel the weight of something greater. A sense that we are not alone, that the forest itself is aware of our presence. Beneath the thick canopy as the sun fades, the jungle slowly changes its voice. Among the most distinctive singers are the frogs. Some are no larger than a fingernail, yet their calls can carry through the trees like bells in the night. Each species has its own song, some short and sharp, others long and drawn out, almost mournful. To our ears it might sound like a random chorus, but to the frogs, this is a language rich with meaning. Scientists who study these nocturnal concerts have found that the calls serve multiple purposes: to warn rivals, to attract mates, and to mark safe territories. What's remarkable is how the frogs manage to avoid drowning each other out. Like a vast orchestra, each species has its own time and frequency. Some sing at a low pitch, while others trill at high notes, creating a layered soundscape where every voice can be heard. To sit quietly by a jungle pool at night is to hear what feels like a living symphony, ancient and unending. Frogs are also deeply sensitive to changes in the environment. A sudden silence in the middle of the night may mean a predator is near. A sudden surge of calls may predict the arrival of rain. In fact, in some jungle villages, people have long used the voices of frogs as weather guides, listening carefully for certain songs that herald storms or dry spells. The variety of frog life in the jungle is staggering. From glass frogs with translucent skin that reveal their beating hearts, to poison dart frogs glowing in brilliant shades of blue, red, or gold, the diversity is endless. Each call is as unique as the creature behind it, echoing through the trees in a chorus that feels both chaotic and carefully arranged. And as you listen, the croaks and trills blur into something almost hypnotic, a reminder that the jungle itself is always awake, always speaking and always alive. When darkness fully blankets the jungle, another world awakens. The forest does not go quiet, it transforms. And with this transformation comes one of its most magical secrets: light born from life itself, bioluminescence. Deep in the undergrowth, mushrooms glow with an eerie green light, illuminating the forest floor like scattered embers. Fireflies drift through the trees, blinking in soft patterns that seem like coded messages in the dark. Even some insects and millipedes carry faint glows, their bodies shining as they crawl across bark and leaf. This glow is not random. It is communication, warning, attraction, survival. For fireflies, light is love. Each species flashes in its own rhythm, slow pulses, rapid bursts, or complex sequences. To a watching female, these signals are unmistakable, guiding her toward a mate in the vast sea of darkness. For glowing fungi, the light may be a lure, attracting insects that carry their spores to new places. Even the simplest glow becomes part of the great cycle of life. To stand in a glowing jungle is to feel like you've stepped into another realm. Imagine walking through towering trees while faint green, gold, and white lights flicker all around, like stars that have fallen from the sky. Scientists continue to study this glow, yet much of it remains a mystery. Why do so many jungle creatures shine? Perhaps it is to communicate, perhaps to confuse predators, or perhaps simply because, in the eternal competition of the jungle, even light can be a tool for survival. As you let the thought sink in, picture the forest around you glowing softly, each flicker and spark a quiet reminder that even in the deepest darkness, life finds a way to shine. High above the jungle floor, where sunlight finally reaches its full strength, stand the true giants of the forest. These are the canopy trees, soaring hundreds of feet into the sky. Their trunks are thick enough to rival the columns of ancient temples, and their crowns spread wide, forming a roof of green that stretches as far as the eye can see. From the ground, the canopy looks like a distant ceiling, but within it lies a world as rich as the forest below. Birds of radiant color weave through the branches, toucans with enormous beaks, parrots with feathers that shimmer like jewels. Monkeys leap effortlessly across the gaps, their calls echoing far and wide. Even insects thrive here, swarming around flowers that bloom in the full light of the sun. Climbing into the canopy, scientists have discovered entire ecosystems that never touch the soil. Orchids, bromeliads, and mosses cling to branches, turning them into gardens suspended in the sky. Tiny pools of rainwater collect among leaves, housing tadpoles, insects, and even small crabs. The canopy is not just a roof. It is a city in the air, layered with life upon life. The scale of these giants is humbling. Some trees live for centuries, their rings marking the passage of time long before modern history. Others shape the very weather above them, releasing moisture and chemicals that form clouds. Standing beneath them, it is easy to feel small, yet their presence is also comforting, a reminder that life, when left undisturbed, can reach heights beyond imagination. No story of the jungle is complete without its most defining sound: rain. In these dense forests, rain is not just common, it is constant, shaping every detail of life. The sound of raindrops pattering against leaves is so continuous that it becomes part of the background, like the heartbeat of the jungle itself. Raindrops here are different than in open spaces. Instead of falling freely to the ground, they strike broad leaves, drip slowly into pools, or gather into streams that trickle down trunks. No single storm can fill the forest with music. Water thundering from high branches, dripping from vines, splashing into hidden streams below. To lie in the jungle during rainfall is to be wrapped in 1,000 tiny rhythms, each drop finding its own voice. For the creatures here, rain is both a gift and a challenge. Frogs thrive in it, insects multiply after it, and plants drink deeply from its endless supply. Yet floods can sweep away nests, and storms can tear down even the tallest trees. Still, the forest endures, cycling endlessly between wet and dry, storm and calm. Scientists say nearly half of the Amazon's rain comes from the forest itself, recycled moisture rising into the sky, cooling and returning. The jungle makes its own weather, watering itself with the generosity of billions of leaves. To imagine this cycle is to understand that the forest is not only alive on the ground, but in the air, in the clouds, in the storms that sweep across continents. As you listen now, imagine the steady rhythm of rain through leaves above you. Slow, calming, infinite, the jungle's lullaby. The jungle at night is not a place of silence, but of transformation. As the rain softens and the last streaks of daylight fade, new voices rise from the shadows. Insects begin their endless chorus, weaving a wall of sound that ripples through the air. Each trill, buzz, and hum blends into a living symphony, so layered and complex that it feels less like noise and more like a woven fabric of life. If you close your eyes, the rhythm of countless wings and calls seems to carry you along, a tide of sound that both surrounds and soothes. Some of these insects sing only for a few hours each night, their brief lives flashing bright and vanishing quickly, yet their contribution is timeless. To them, this is not a song but survival, a way to find one another in the vastness of the dark. Among these nocturnal performers, the cicadas stand out with their piercing cries, loud enough to rival machinery. But even they do not overwhelm the harmony. High-pitched calls of tree crickets and the low hums of katydids fill the spaces between, each choosing its own frequency, as though the forest were a grand orchestra tuned with exquisite precision. It may sound chaotic at first, but soon your ears learn the patterns, and the jungle becomes not overwhelming but comforting, like waves against a shore. Then come the hunters. Owls sweep silently through the branches, their wings specially shaped to muffle every beat. Their eyes, wide and golden, see through the darkness with unerring accuracy, while their calls echo like ghostly bells in the night. Bats emerge in their thousands, weaving erratic patterns as they hunt for insects, guided not by sight but by sound. Their echolocation is a language far beyond our hearing, a rapid-fire conversation of clicks and echoes that reveals the invisible with stunning clarity. To us it is silence, to them it is vision. In the rivers, crocodiles drift slowly beneath the surface, only their eyes breaking the waterline. With infinite patience, they wait for prey that might step too close. The air grows heavy with mist, and the glow of bioluminescent fungi flickers faintly on the forest floor. A hush settles, not of silence but of anticipation, as though the entire forest is holding its breath. Yet the jungle is never still for long. Somewhere in the distance, a jaguar moves, its presence felt long before it is seen. Jaguars are masters of the shadows, stepping silently across the undergrowth, vanishing between shafts of moonlight. For many cultures, the jaguar is more than a predator. It is a spirit, a guardian, a symbol of strength and mystery. Its golden eyes shine in the night like lanterns, a reminder that in the jungle, power walks softly, unseen but ever present. While the predators move, countless smaller creatures go about their hidden lives. Leafcutter ants continue their endless processions even in the dark, carrying pieces of greenery that glisten with droplets of rain. Their paths stretch like highways across the ground, each ant carrying a burden many times its size. Underground, their fungus gardens grow steadily, nurtured with tireless devotion. To watch them is to realize that civilization is not unique to humans. Here beneath our feet is another kind of society, one built on cooperation, duty, and silent persistence. Above in the canopy, sloths stir slowly from their rest. These creatures live life at a different rhythm entirely. Moving one limb at a time, they crawl along branches with deliberate patience, so unhurried that algae grows on their fur, turning them into part of the forest itself. For the sloth, speed is not survival. Stillness is. By blending with the leaves and avoiding attention, they turn invisibility into their greatest defense. To see a sloth is rare. To hear one is almost impossible. They are ghosts of the canopy, living reminders that sometimes the slowest path is the safest. Even plants seem to breathe differently in the night. Flowers that remain closed in daylight unfurl under moonlight, releasing fragrances sweet and heavy into the air. These scents are not for us, but for nocturnal pollinators, moths with wings as wide as dinner plates, beetles drawn by perfume, and even bats that dive headlong into blossoms in search of nectar. With every sip, they carry pollen between flowers, weaving the next generation of the forest into being. Life here never pauses. It simply changes hands, one shift giving way to another in the eternal cycle of night and day. The jungle sky above, often hidden by branches, reveals itself more clearly at night. When the clouds part, the stars appear in breathtaking numbers, scattered across the heavens like grains of sand. But even the sky is shaped by the jungle. Rising plumes of moisture from billions of trees drift upward, forming clouds that catch and scatter moonlight. From a distance, the Amazon basin at night appears like a breathing organism, glowing faintly with mist and lightning storms, alive not only below but above. Legends grow in such places, whispered from one generation to the next. Many tribes believe the forest is home to spirits that dwell in trees, rivers, and animals, guiding or warning those who wander too far. The calls of howler monkeys at dawn are said to be the voices of ancestors. The shimmer of fireflies in the night is described as souls carrying messages. Whether or not you believe these tales, it is hard not to feel their truth when surrounded by such mystery. In the jungle, everything feels alive. Not just animals and plants, but the very air, the very ground, the very silence. And so the night stretches onward. Hours pass, yet the rhythm of life does not falter. It simply shifts, layers weaving together into something vast, eternal, and soothing. For those who listen, the jungle offers not just knowledge, but peace. It is a reminder that the world is older than us, wiser than us, and infinitely more patient. All we must do is breathe with it, surrender to its cadence, and allow its endless story to carry us toward rest. As the first faint glow of dawn begins to brush the treetops, the jungle prepares for another transformation. Night has been long, rich with whispers and movements unseen, but the light is returning, and with it comes an entirely new chorus of life. Long before the sun itself crests the horizon, the howler monkeys announce the morning with voices so deep and resonant that they can carry for miles. Their calls are not gentle. They roll like thunder, shaking the still air and reminding everything within earshot that the day has arrived. For the people who live near these forests, the howler monkey's roar is as familiar as a rooster's crow. Yet to a traveler hearing it for the first time, it can feel otherworldly, almost frightening. Imagine waking to a chorus that sounds like distant drums and ancient chants echoing through the trees. In truth, these calls are not meant for us but for one another. Warnings to rival groups, markers of territory, declarations of presence. Still, their effect on the atmosphere is undeniable. With the first calls of dawn, the jungle shakes off its dreams and turns its face toward the rising sun. As light strengthens, the birds join the morning symphony. Parrots shriek in pairs, darting through the canopy with bursts of brilliant green and red. Toucans announce themselves with croaks and rattles, their oversized beaks flashing like painted banners in the early light. Tiny hummingbirds, no larger than a thumb, beat their wings in impossible blurs, darting from flower to flower with a grace that feels unreal. The air fills with sound and color at once, as though the forest itself has awakened to celebrate the return of day. The jungle at dawn carries a smell all its own. Moist earth rises with the mist, mixing with the perfume of flowers that bloom with the morning light. Sap seeps from branches where insects have fed, filling the air with sweet resin. Somewhere nearby, fruit has fallen during the night, splitting open to release the sharp tang of fermentation. The scent is thick and heavy, yet never unpleasant, a reminder that here every sense is engaged at once. With daylight comes motion. Ants resume their lines. Beetles take flight and butterflies unfurl their wings to catch the warmth of the sun. Some of these butterflies are so large, they resemble birds when they pass overhead, their wings shimmering with impossible blues, oranges, and silvers. Others are nearly invisible, their wings patterned to look like leaves or bark. To a casual glance, they vanish entirely, but to a careful eye, they reveal the endless creativity of survival. The rivers too awaken in the light. Schools of fish glitter below the surface, flashing like coins scattered in water. Some leap briefly into the air, vanishing again with a splash, as if to remind us that life is not confined to one element alone. Along the banks, caimans lie half submerged, their eyes and nostrils peeking above water, unmoving yet watchful. Nearby, giant river otters slip into the current, their sleek bodies cutting clean lines as they hunt together with practiced teamwork. The river is both a lifeline and a battlefield, a place of nourishment and danger in equal measure. Deeper in the forest, the trees dominate once more. Their roots spread wide, some forming walls taller than a person. These buttresses are more than supports. They are fortresses, anchoring giants that would otherwise topple in the shallow soil. Between the roots, shadowed hollows form natural shelters, used by countless creatures for refuge. It is here that you might find a tapir resting, its large form blending seamlessly with the darkness, or an armadillo scurrying in search of insects. Even the smallest crevice offers sanctuary in a world so full of life. One of the most extraordinary aspects of these forests is how interconnected everything is. The fall of a single fruit may feed birds, monkeys, and insects all in one day. A dead tree, far from being waste, becomes home to fungi, termites, and mosses, each breaking it down until only rich soil remains. That soil then feeds new saplings, which rise toward the light and begin the cycle anew. Nothing here is wasted. Every life, every death, every shift is woven into the tapestry. And though the jungle feels eternal, it is also fragile. The balance that sustains such abundance is delicate, and even small disruptions can ripple outward in ways difficult to imagine. Scientists often speak of the butterfly effect, the idea that a single tiny action can cause massive changes over time. Nowhere is this more visible than in the jungle, where the survival of a bird may depend on a flower, and the survival of the flower may depend on a single insect. Remove one and the chain quivers. Remove too many and the chain breaks. Yet while the forest is fragile, it is also resilient, capable of recovering from storms, floods, and even fires given time and respect. As morning turns to day, the forest grows warmer. Shafts of light pierce the canopy, painting golden beams through drifting mist. Within these beams, dust motes and tiny insects dance, catching the light like stars in the sky. The heat begins to rise, drawing more sounds from the forest. The rustle of lizards darting through the undergrowth, the crackle of branches as monkeys leap from tree to tree, the endless low hum of countless wings. Everywhere you look, life is in motion, but it is not frantic. It is balanced, flowing like a river, each creature fulfilling its role in silence or song. To witness this is to understand that the jungle is not chaos, but order written in forms too vast for the eye to immediately grasp. Each leaf, each drop of water, each call is part of a larger story, one that has been unfolding for millions of years. We are only guests here, allowed to listen for a while before drifting once more into the quiet rhythms of sleep. So as you picture this scene, the rising sun, the awakening chorus, the endless cycle of life, let your own breath follow the same pattern. Slow, steady, effortless. You are a part of this forest now, if only in imagination. The jungle carries you with it, endlessly alive, endlessly unfolding as you sink deeper into calm.